Hi, we're talking about Your Money Matters on NDTV Profit, and my name is Alex Matthew. This show gets you answers to all of your personal finance problems, and one of the key problems that a lot of people are facing today and in recent times relates to the withdrawal of their hard-earned money from the Employee Provident Fund organization's coffers. Now, the EPF, or the Employee Provident Fund, is the silent accumulator. It's that nest egg that tends to get ignored through the course of an individual's employment, and then when they receive it at the end, it's like manna from heaven. It's like that thing that you didn't anticipate, but then that'll hold you in good stead over the course of your retirement. But there are also reasons for you to withdraw it earlier, say in the event of an emergency. What are the rules that govern all of that, and what are the problems that people have been reporting when it comes to those withdrawals? We'll talk about troubleshooting, and we'll talk about what you should do when you receive that nest egg. Joining me today is Ketan Das, who is the business head Provident Fund at FinRight Technologies, as well as Rohit Shah, the founder and chief executive officer of GYR Financial Planners. Thanks so much for taking the time, to the both of you. Let me start with a question to you, Ketan, which is that of late, you've seen a lot of headlines, you've seen a lot of people reporting that they've been unable to withdraw their money. What are the various reasons why this is happening, and do we have numbers?
Sure. So as per the last financial year's report, there is approximately 25 to 26% rejection rate for all claims together. And especially for the full and final withdrawal, which happens when you're either unemployed or retired, that is around 30%. So that's quite a high number. That's total of 1.6 crore claims rejected as per the last financial year. 1.6
crore claims. Rohit, wrap your head around that.
I think EPFO continues to be one of the most unfriendly manager of our money.
That's a big statement, and it's a lot of people will say that that is true. But why do you say that?
I think these systems have not been upgraded. The records do not match, the online withdrawals don't work, the KYCs are not in sync, the bank account, the name mismatch, the system is not friendly, the grievance doesn't work, there's no call center number to call, the ecosystem, the consultants, the services providers who can help, they just doesn't exist. So, it's an utter frustration for somebody to get that money when they really need to, or to consolidate their EPF, or really make sure that it is, in a good shape. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And a lot of this is work in progress. The EPFO has been making statements about EPFO 3.0, while a lot of people are waiting for 1.0 to work.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about some of these issues. Sure. Why is it that 1.6 crore applications are getting rejected?
So there could be multiple underlying issues due to which your claim might get rejected. Some of it can be categorized as pension-related issues. Others could be PF contributions that your employer deposits. There may be issues with that. Other than that, there are typical issues such as KYC issues, where your name, date of birth, gender, sort of information doesn't match with what's there on your Aadhaar. Apart from that, there are ineligibility issues. People don't really understand what is the amount that they're eligible for. How much
this is in the partial withdrawal case?
Yes, that's in the partial withdrawal case. And apart from that, like you mentioned, there are some technical issues as well.
Like?
For example, you wouldn't believe, but people have gotten rejections saying just the rejection reason mentions OK, or PDF is corrupted, can't open, resubmit.
You're serious?
Yes, this has happened. I've seen it in front of my eyes.
OK?
Yes.
As a response for not paying, does that surprise you?
No, that's very, very shocking. It's actually unacceptable. And I think there's a complete lack of empathy, on the, at the end of the EPFO, the way they need to look at it. They're running like probably 30 years behind. What it also means is that I think there is a, the lack of awareness, the rules, what I can do, what I cannot do. EPS, for example, that he said, is an extremely pain. If I'm moving to an organization where there's no EPS, how do I transfer?
So explain that. You're talking about EPS, which is the Employee Pension Scheme.
That's right.
Which is a part of the EPF, right?
Yes,
so it's a portion of your contributions, and I would like one of you to explain this, because a portion of your contributions would go out to a fund that will pay out a regular pension, which forms a part of the EPF. Explain this.
That's correct. So there are two types of contributions. One is contribution that goes from the employee, that is deducted from your salary every month, and then there's employer contribution. So part of the employer contributions, like you mentioned, moves into the pension scheme if you're eligible for it. Now, eligibility is something a lot of people get mistaken around. So if you joined EPFO after 2014, September 1st, 2014, that was your first job, then if your salary is above 15,000 per month, then you're not eligible for EPS. But a lot of companies do make that mistake. And on top of it, let's say you're switching jobs. You're supposed to fill out a form, that is a Form 11, which is part of compliance while joining. And there's just a small checkbox that asks whether you're a member of EPS 1995. Now, I'm sure a lot of educated people also would make a mistake in understanding what exactly is EPS 1995. So a small checkbox and your PF is stuck for, let's say, 6 months, 3 months.
So tell me something. Let me give you a hypothetical scenario.
Sure.
Okay, somebody was employed in 2010. They quit their job December 2014. Okay. 1st of January 2015 was when they got the new job. So therefore, they don't fit this criteria of EPS.
So I'll just add on one point to that.
Right.
If you've joined before 2014, and then you would be a pension member. Anyone?
No. Let me clarify.
Okay.
So if this individual, between that first job and the second job, has decided to pull their EPF out, and so therefore would become a new member, effectively.
That's correct.
On the 1st of January 2015, then what you're saying is that their contribution to the EPS would not happen?
That's correct. So if you've withdrawn the entire amount, if you have a provision of withdrawing the pension share as well, if your total service is less than 10 years. So in this case, the pension would have been withdrawn, then your account starts fresh.
Right.
Then the contributions will match. The employee and the employer share will be equal. No contributions to pension whatsoever.
And how do you find out if there is a contribution that you're making towards the EPS?
So one way to check is you can log into the EPFO passbook portal.
If it works?
If it works. And then go to the member ID. There's a concept of member ID which represents the company that you're working for. Select that and you'll see a table. On that you have a column called pension share. You'll see a 1250 contribution every month, which is because there's a 15,000 capping. 8.33% of 15,000 is 1250. So you'll see that 1250 contribution happening. And like you mentioned, in this case, there should be no contribution. You'll see employee share, employer share, both should be equal. There should be no pension share.
And this happens automatically?
It's there. While you're joining, you must have clicked that tick box and the employer.
So we're talking about a hypothetical scenario.
Yeah.
We're not talking about myself. But
have you ever wondered, Alex, if an employee is changing the job, right, the tax recovery from his salary is automatic?
Yes.
PAN number, income
Correct.
tax account, nothing is required. He doesn't fill up a form to pay the tax.
Yeah.
Whereas for EPF, there's so much of effort one needs to take.
Yeah.
The UN number, the pension, consolidating the PF. Why do they exist in an 18th century?
So that needs to be fixed. And we'll circle back to the fact that, in my opinion, this is one of the most powerful products that somebody can use for retirement. That remains the case. There are a lot of issues that need to be resolved, and I think that's work in progress. We'll also talk about what the EPFO is doing. But before that, just to round off this hypothetical scenario that I mentioned, and I mentioned it here at this point in this conversation because I think a lot of young people tend to do this. They say, oh, you know what, it's so much trouble to transfer from one organization to the other. It's a pretty sizable amount that you've saved up. Why don't you just pull it out? Buy something shiny, buy something new. Rohit, why is that not a good idea?
So, see, one is that even EPF is doing a compounding.
Yes.
Right? The rates are different, but we should try and not disturb that EPF, especially for those people who have a discipline as a challenge, who are not self-driven. It is like, let's say, when you give the money in the hand of someone, who cannot, let it sit and grow, whereas an EPF is a forced and a disciplined investing. It's an autopilot, money is getting collected every month, it is getting grown, you don't even have an access. The way EPFO works, you just can't even withdraw. And that's a beautiful thing for somebody who just cannot handle money.
Okay.
Right?
So you're looking for the silver lining.
Absolutely.
Right. So what you're saying is let it compound.
Correct, let it compound. And the math of, you running a portfolio at a 12% and EPF giving you 8%.
Tax-free.
right? Tax-free. And even on a 12%, even if you pay tax, you can easily have 2-3% compounding, correct?
Yeah.
You can diversify your portfolio, you can asset allocate it, you can optimize it. But that math doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
Especially if you are not the one who can take pain and effort to manage your financial affairs. Then it's not a good idea for you to withdraw. Then let the money compound.
So while we're talking about withdrawal, let's establish a few things because it's important to understand. If you stop contributing to the Employee Provident Fund, for whatever reason, it could be one of many reasons. One, you can move from an employment setup to a contract-based setup, which a lot of people tend to do because the tax treatment is different. As a professional, you can automatically claim 50% of expenses and reduce your tax payable up to a certain limit. But having said, or you can decide that you want to start up, in which case you wouldn't be paid or you wouldn't be making contributions to the EPF. So let's assume you stop. What happens to the interest accrual? There is a theory that after 3 years, interest will stop accruing. First of all, is that right?
No, that's a myth, and it's been quite widely spread out saying that after 36 months, that is 3 years of no contribution, your interest will stop. But we've done our own research, we've validated, and recently EPF also clarified it, stating that your interest will accrue till the age of 58. Even if you've stopped contributing, your interest continues till the age of 58.
What happens after that? You withdraw it.
So interest will stop accruing if you've stopped contributing, and after 58, there's no more interest accrual on that account.
And there is a tax aspect though. If you stop contributing, what is it?
So if your contributions have stopped, the moment the contributions stop, the interest that you're getting on that PF corpus becomes taxable. So in a way, if you've stopped contributing but you're at a higher tax slab, let's say at 30%, then you're getting interest at 8.25%, but then you're ending up paying 30% tax on it, on the interest that you earn.
So, and if you start working at some point after that, you stop paying tax.
Yeah, then the interest component doesn't become taxable. As long as you're contributing to EPFO and money is getting deposited into PF, the interest earned on it is tax-free.
Rohit, are you familiar with scenarios like this where you have a gap in employment and so therefore there's a tax treatment of this, but it does not, as I understand it, happen automatically? The onus is on you as a taxpayer. There's no TDS that takes place. There's no tax deducted at source. So the onus is on you to say, okay, my corpus in my EPF is this much. 8.25 is what the government or the EPFO has announced that is chargeable or that is payable in that given year. You'll calculate this out of this and say, this is my expected tax payment. That's how it works?
In theory, yes. In practice, EPFO does not even credit the interest by the time you file the ITR.
Oh.
So I don't even know what is the interest that I have earned,
That's
number
correct.
one, right?
Yes.
And the number two is that, I think a lot of people come to know, if at all, if EPFO will apply the TDS, that this portion is taxable.
But it doesn't apply the TDS.
There's no TDS.
I've seen it differing. For example, the NRIs do get this question. There are certain additional form for 15G, 15H may be required. So in some cases, I have seen TDS, and if TDS is applied, then one needs to go deep and understand which year this had a taxable component. But practically, it doesn't work.
So what is the solution here?
So rightly he mentioned that you're not going to see the transaction happening as well. So your interest for this last financial year ending March 31st was contributed on July this month. So there's this 3-4 month gap there as well.
And so you've effectively earned the interest in this financial year.
So your interest is credited this financial year, but as far as
it's accounted for in FY25.
Yeah,
on an accrual basis.
On an accrual basis, you have to pay taxes on an accrual basis. So you don't see the transaction, you're supposed to do the math and then declare that as an income and then deposit tax.
And so effectively you're going to be paying tax without even receiving the income.
Before you've received the money. That's the understanding.
Wow.
And
so
again, there were two parts to that money. One money is what an employee paid as his share after paying the tax on his salary.
Yes.
Right?
So,
and then there is one part which employee, where he's got a tax benefit, and it's logical that that portion is taxable. But the one which is my taxed money, which I have put in, why should I pay tax on that?
yeah, I mean, but that is an argument for all investment products then. I mean, you can make that argument for, equity gains, you can make that argument for fixed deposits as well, but that's another conversation altogether. But having said that, what about partial withdrawals? What are the rules governing that? Because here we're talking about full withdrawals, we're talking about the rules governing stoppage of contribution. But suppose, and we've already established that if at all possible, Rohit, according to you, let it compound, let it grow, because it can add up to quite a substantial amount over a period of time. But what if you have to pull it out?
Correct.
What are the rules that govern this?
Right. So EPFO has made some provisions for such emergencies. For example, medical emergencies, where you're allowed to withdraw 6 times your EPF wages, which is technically your basic plus DA. So you can withdraw 6 times of that. Then there's withdrawal reasons for if you're buying a house, you want to repay your home loan. There's provision for that. Or let's say you want to go for higher education, or you're getting married. So these are some of the provisions where EPFO is allowing you to withdraw as advance. But each reason comes with its own eligibility criteria. Some require 5 years, some require 7 years.
Sure. A minimum investment of that period.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. For a home loan in particular, and the reason I'm asking this is because you have a scenario now where more than a couple of years back, it's an opportune time to take a home loan because interest rates are lower. You could see another rate cut that could get passed on in a month, 2 months. Let's see what the RBI does in the next rate cycle, right? Or in the next policy. But do you think that it's a good idea to pull money out of your EPF in order to prepay a home loan?
So yes and no. The short answer is that this answer needs to be seen from the overall perspective. Mathematically, what happens is that if you're going to pay, let's say 8%, get tax benefit, your effective cost is, assuming old regime, your effective cost is lower, right? Maybe 6%, maybe 5.5%.
Correct.
And if you're going to be earning 8.2% or 8.3% tax free, then you're having an alpha. So this is in addition to continue to having stayed invested.
Yeah. So one sec, just so that I absolutely, because we've thrown a lot of numbers out there, I want to be absolutely clear. What you're saying, your cost is, if you are in the old tax regime and you are using Section 24, then you have 2 lakh rupees worth of deductions available on interest payments on a home loan.
That's right.
And so therefore, if you're paying 8% on a home loan, your effective rate of taxation,
let's say 6%.
not effective rate of cost or interest cost
Correct.
is 6.5.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So, okay. And if you're earning interest free 8.25, so the math does not
So
add
there's
up.
an alpha.
Yeah.
So why do you want to leave that? This is one part. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is that, the number that I mentioned to you about the disciplined investing. The third thing that we need to keep in mind here, Alex, is that, a lot of people are not comfortable with a liability. So there's a psychological factor that I don't want to have a debt. The first step to financial freedom is not to have a liability. Yes. In that case, the 2% alpha doesn't really matter. And then the other thing is that, I withdraw the money from my retirement, I take care of the home loan. Now what happens? What is the impact to my financial plan? How does my retirement goal change? How does my, my loan is not there now, my EMI is not there, my SIPs are they going up? Am I able to channelize that?
Sure.
And am I able to, bring up, the ante, because now my retirement target has gone up, money is not there in the EPF.
Sure.
So it's not a straightforward.
So it's if but, right? Or if then. And so therefore the point is that if you want to get rid of the debt, and if you're utilizing the EMI amount to contribute to your retirement savings, and you have enough time to compensate for the loss of the amount that you've accrued, then the answer is yes. Okay, so point well made, and I think that's enough food for you to think about what you need to do. But on the subject of things that have been done to resolve some of these issues, the EPFO has made certain moves, has made certain statements. One of the key issues that I have seen is a mismatch in the KYC, or the know your customer information that is available on the EPFO portal, as well as on the Aadhaar card or various other platforms, or the bank account is not matching or whatever else.
Correct.
This is a change that has recently come about.
Yes.
Is this effective?
Yes. So essentially, before this change came in, if you had to change any information that was relating to your KYC, for example, your name, there's some spelling mistake in your name, you want to correct it. Earlier, it used to go to the employer, and then it used to go to EPFO. So there was a 2-stage verification for simply changing your name. But now they've set up a revised process where these changes are taken either as a self-declaration. I, as a member, am declaring that whatever information I'm providing is correct, or at the maximum, it is going to the employer for a verification. So that has become quite simpler. The KYC related issues The correction process has become much simpler now. And apart from there are some changes which are with regards to the transfers. The transfers are getting, auto approved. There's no longer a request that is sent to the employer as well. So,
and that's a big change, is it not?
Yeah. And on top of that, they've increased the withdrawal auto settlement limit to 5 lakhs. That means if your claim is less than 5 lakhs, then it doesn't go for a manual validation. It automatically gets settled and you get the money in 3 working days.
And this is applicable, this is working right now?
Yeah, this has, the limit was earlier 1 lakh, but it has now been increased to 5 lakhs.
And the change of the names, etc., because I know of cases of somebody who was employed in, I think, 8-10 years back, where the first employer put their name in wrong, or their father's name was wrong.
Correct.
And so therefore, the Aadhaar card does not have the father's name, and this one has the father's name. Correct. And so mismatch, as a result of which is not available.
So there's just one.
And the employer no longer, cooperates, no longer responds.
Yeah,
that's a big problem,
and
because
they're gone. There's nothing else.
And so this should solve that problem.
So I'll just add one nuance to it. If you're able to log into the EPFO portal, you'll be able to do all of these changes.
Sure.
Let's say you're not able to log in because there's a mismatch in your name and the portal is not letting you inside the portal, right? So then there's no option of that. You'll have to reach out to the company. Like you mentioned, companies may or may not cooperate.
So how do you fix the login issue? The only way is to get in touch with the company.
So login, they do a basic check whether your UN is linked with Aadhaar. And on top of that, they'll verify your name, your gender and date of birth.
Sure.
If all of this information matches, you'll be able to log in.
Oh, so they need to fix this as well, right? If you're a legitimate, if you're, and all of this details is mapped ultimately to your Aadhaar in one way or the other, right?
Correct.
So your Aadhaar and PAN is matched.
Just to step in here, Alex.
Yeah.
If you are an NRI, you left the country before 2012 or 13 when UN came, you don't have UN. You've given up the citizenship, you don't have Aadhaar, you are a PIO, there's no way you can log in. Just imagine how they will get their money back.
So, okay, so this seems to be one of the major problem areas. You need to first of all be able to log in.
Correct.
What is the advice that you would have for individuals who are unable to log in? What are the rules that they should follow?
Sure. So you have 2 options. First is to reach out to the employer and ask them to do the joint declaration process. It's called the joint declaration, where they'll submit all the documents, your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, any KYC document. EPFO has given a list of documents that are officially accepted. You send those documents to the employer and the employer can do the joint declaration process on your behalf. That is one. If the company has shut down, there's no one, the employer is not existent, then in that case you can submit an offline form to the PF office. But that again, it's mapped to an individual office. Let's say you're working in Delhi, but the PF office is in Mumbai, you're supposed to submit it there. So
and you have to go in person and do it.
So it is still not centralized.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
still not
The challenge
centralized.
with EPF.
Correct.
Wow,
It remains distributed across.
The books are distributed.
And these are the only 2 ways in which you can resolve this?
Yeah, these are the only 2 ways.
And how long can it take?
So earlier, any changes, it used to be a 45 to 60-day affair. But luckily, if you're able to log in, that becomes quite easy. It's instantaneous.
Yeah.
But that timeline will still remain the same, right? You will have to.
And you're checking this on an ongoing basis, so I will ask you, the issues that people were having with the portal not functioning, has that been resolved?
So up until last week, the state of the portal was quite dismal. People were not able to log into the passbook and see if their money was credited, if your claim was rejected, why was it rejected. You're not able to check all of that. But recently, since the last couple of days, the state has been a little bit better.
Thankfully.
Great news. That's
Thankfully.
great news.
Yeah.
And I intended to have a longer conversation, Rohit, on what an individual should do when they receive this large amount of money, but unfortunately we're completely out of time. We spend most of the time talking about the issues people are facing with the EPFO. I will toss another last question to you. Any other major problems that you think people should be aware of and should check now rather than wait till they retire?
That's correct. So let's say you're planning for a withdrawal. I'll give you a small checklist that you should do.
Yes.
Starting with, let's say, are you able to log in? Do you have a Aadhaar link mobile number where you're getting an OTP?
Yes.
Next step would be to log in and check if your Aadhaar, PAN and bank account are all seeded and correct.
Yeah.
After that, do one thing, check if all the companies have marked the exit date for all the companies that you worked for.
Yeah.
Make sure there's no overlap. And then beyond that, make sure you've transferred all the money into the current account, because if you don't transfer, Let's say you work for 3 companies and you withdraw from the final one, you'll get only the money from the final one. And then you will eventually transfer, and that's a huge hassle. So before you withdraw, make sure you transfer all the funds into one account and then do a withdrawal.
So UN has not changed, right? The UN was supposed to be, you have one number, and it doesn't matter. It's a portable solution. But even today, I think when you change the job, you still have to fill up the form so that the PF gets stacked to that UN.
Correct. So what happens currently is you give your Aadhaar card to the company while you're joining, and they'll automatically fetch the UN number. At least that has been solved for. Before 2021, companies used to create multiple UNs.
But, and this is the last question, right? And another hypothetical scenario. If you have moved from a company that contributes to the EPF4 and you have moved to a company that contributes to a trust or has their own trust.
Correct.
And then you leave that company and go back to EPF4. Effectively, the UAN from the one prior to the trust would be in effect,
Correct.
right? And that should happen.
Yeah, the UAN should remain same. You should not have multiple UANs. And this used to happen before 2021, where companies didn't have access to understand whether you already have a UN.
Sure.
Right now, it's been solved for. So even if you have multiple UNs, try to just, there are processes out there. Yeah.
God bless them.
Yeah, well, on that note, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining in. And we've answered quite a few questions. Unfortunately, the nature of the subject is that a lot of questions might still remain. And on that note, let me invite you to write in to us and tell us what you would like to know about. If there are specific problems that you're facing that you haven't gotten a solution for, make sure you write to us in the comment section and we'll take it up on future episodes. Thanks so much for watching. This is NDTV Profit.